Hey there, thanks for watching. My name is Christiana and this channel is Well Behaved Wallet, where my mission is to love the life I have while building the life of my dreams. Today is day 23 of Vlogmas and I can't believe that we've made it this far. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. It feels, it's been so much fun to interact throughout the month, and I hope that you are having a wonderful day wherever you are, and if it's still the Christmas season, I hope that you're enjoying your festive season. So in today's video, I thought I would share with you this idea of Christmas dreams that have come true, or Christmas wishes that have come true for me. I'm a really firm believer in the idea that what you appreciate appreciates, meaning that things that you concentrate on and things that you retell to yourself, the stories you tell yourself, become even more true in your life. And so that's the reason why I like to focus on the positive things and dreams that have come true in the past. So I'm going to share with you 3 stories that happened around Christmas time. And so one is a dream that came true. Another is a dream that, they're all things that came true. Some of them were not necessarily how I would have wanted, and others were, they're all lessons. And I guess the moral, or what I learned from these lessons and why I keep repeating them to myself, is to say that I like to appreciate everything that happens, but hold loosely, meaning not be too attached to a specific outcome or to a specific situation, but just accept what comes my way with open arms and gratitude and hope and courage and goodness. So the first story, and I've shared this before, but I like reliving it because it's kind of like, for me, again, a reminder of sort of how, I don't want to say cheesy, but how the magic and the wonder of Christmas can sort of last your whole life. So this happened when I was 5 years old, and we were living in Bethesda, Maryland, and the school that I went to, the public school that I went to, was very into like the arts and encouraging kids to be involved in the arts. So they took us to they would expose us to all different like avenues. Like we saw dance productions, theater, and there was just a lot of cultural events, many cultural events that we were exposed to. So I, as a kid, I think I was 5 at the time, and they brought an orchestra in to see us, and I remember just being like on the edge of my seat and so enthralled by this orchestra. And there was a time for like Q&A, and some of the musicians introduced their instrument, and you could like kind of go up and like see the instruments up close. And the instrument that I loved the most was the violin. And I thought at the time it was really cool because there was like the body and the bow. So like the violin body and the bow, like you got 2 parts to it. So I thought that was really neat. Like you're really getting your value, like your money's worth with these 2 parts. So 5 years old, I was so excited, and I told my mom like I wanted to start playing violin. I wanted to learn how to play the violin. And she's like, okay, because at 5, you're like, you change from day to day, like the things that you want to do. She's like, yeah, whatever. So this was in the fall, I remember in it. So it was around like September, October that I saw this orchestra, and all through, so September, October, November, and then straight into December, I kept wanting this violin. And I even took like, I found a stick in the front yard, and I had like a baton, like a twirly baton, because I must have been into like twirling or something. So I had this baton with like glitter on the inside, and I took a stick and I wrapped a ribbon around it, and that was like the body of the violin, and then the baton was the bow, and I would like practice until I was sure, see mom, like I still want to do this. She was like, all right. So it was 4 months that I wanted to play this violin, and I would ask her all the time and kind of pester her about it. She's like, okay, there might be something to this. So Christmas rolls around, and I'd kind of been telling her about this, and I remember we lived in Maryland, and all my mom's family lives in Michigan, so they came down to visit us, and they stayed at our house, and there were like 20 people in this little teeny tiny like 2-bedroom house. You get cousins sleeping on the floor, and people hanging off of couches and stuff, and there were all these people everywhere, and there's just a lot of there was a lot of like stuff going on. Like I think my parents were still trying to remodel our house in Bethesda, so there was like work and stuff happening. So like I had cousins to play with, and so I don't remember consciously asking for anything for Christmas that year, but I did know that I wanted to play the violin. So Christmas morning rolls around, and my mom's like, open your stocking. So I did, and there was this little, like a little block, like a black block in cardboard or in like wood. And I was like, what is this? Like a sticky thing in cardboard. And I'm like, what is this? Like, what do I do with this? And she's like, that's rosin for your new violin. I was like, what is that? And so she had, because I remember they weren't sure what size I was. And she didn't want to take me to get fitted for it right away. But I think they might have started with a size too small or something, because you have different sizes depending on when kids are learning, depending on how big you are. And so I think they probably got me a half size just to start, because I remember that Christmas being so happy that I got the violin, that I just walked around the house like playing it nonstop and like annoying my cousins and being like, tell me a tune, I'll play it for you. And just really loving it. So that was something that it didn't look like what I wanted at the time. Like I got this little block and I was like, what is this? Like, what do I do with this? This is what I wanted. But that ended up being a key component in what I actually wanted. So that happened the Christmas I was 5, and then I started taking lessons the following year. So that was the first Christmas that sticks out in my memory. The second Christmas that sticks out in my memory of a wish that I got fulfilled was in 1995. I had wanted one of those Playmobil, which is like a Danish version of, or Legos are Danish, but it was like a different brand of like a Lego type thing. They're like little toys. So Playmobil dollhouse, and it was this giant, big Victorian type thing, and I wanted that dollhouse, and it was like huge. And I'll insert pictures of it here. It was huge. It was like a good sized dollhouse, and it was all like fancy and ornate, and there were window boxes, and there's like a little terrace, and there were servants, and there were like upstairs and downstairs quarters. Like it was like Downton Abbey in a toy. It was huge. But it cost $199, and I think it's still, like, I looked up to see how much it's going for on eBay, and it's still about $199. So it's your value for money. And I really wanted this, like, ever since around, like, going back to school, I was like, oh, I just really want that. I think at the time I was maybe 12, which is a little bit old, I think, to be wanting a dollhouse, but that's really what I wanted. So I told my mom that was what I wanted, and she was like, okay, but I'm going to ask you to work for it, because that's not a cheap toy. So I'm like, all right. So I was working, and I was like doing extra chores and stuff because I really wanted this, and it came down to it, and I didn't have enough money, and she's like, oh, well. And I'd ask her to go to the store to like look at it all the time. And like I'd look and I'd be like, oh, if only I could have that. And she's like, well, you didn't earn enough. Like Christmas is coming, you don't have enough. And I was like really sad about it. But then on Christmas morning, I woke up and I came downstairs, and I see like a giant box, and I'm like, oh, because she'd made up the difference. And she'd gone ahead and bought it for me. The thing is, I spent that day, Christmas Day, putting it together, and it was huge and it was ornate, and it took like 4 or 5 hours to put it together. And to be honest, I wanted to quit after like hour 3 when the thing is like only halfway done. But I think everyone pitched in and kind of helped me finish it. So the thing got up, and almost immediately I was like, I don't want this anymore. And I felt so terrible, because here I had worked so hard, my mom had worked so hard, because like $199 for a young family, like that's not cheap, that's expensive. So I had wanted it so much, and I worked so hard, and then all of a sudden I'm like, I don't want it anymore. And I felt just awful, and I had to I knew, like, I thought in my head, okay, I got to make a plan. I will, I'll play with this for like maybe 3 months. So I'll like taper off so that my mom knows that I appreciate it. And I'll like, let her know that I appreciate what she's done for me. And then I'll kind of taper it off. So that literally, I think I played with it through like February. And then I was like, all right, I'm done with this. I don't want it anymore. And then she spent like the longest, like she tried to like sell it, like someone expressed interest, and she tried to like sell it rather than giving it away because it was so expensive. I don't remember what eventually happened, but I think she might have tried to sell it to like one of her friends for their kids. Cause it was not cheap, and it was big, and it was like cumbersome, and oh my gosh. So the lesson I take from that is sometimes what you want isn't always what you really want. So you can want something really bad, but not, and once you get it, you don't necessarily want it anymore. So be careful about what you want. That's the lesson I get from that. And this final story is my favorite because it's kind of a reminder that you should never give up. And this one is like, it's kind of hopeful because it happened just recently. It was like 2012. So I'll share this sort of family, family piece of information. My sister went down to Tennessee when she was really young. She was 19, and it was a health-related program that she went to. And she went down in October. It was right around my birthday, and it was what was best for her, and she decided that she wanted to do it. It was I think it was a 30-day inpatient program, and it was really hard because she'd been having a really hard time up until that point, and this was I want to say 2007, because so she was there and she was doing well, but I sort of collectively we decided that she should stay down there and shouldn't come back up. So it was right before Christmas, and it was heartbreaking to not be able to spend Christmas with her because she was down there and we were up here, and it was just decided for everyone that it was best if we stayed there. And I wanted to see her so bad, and she wasn't there. Like, we couldn't be together. So she was down in Tennessee. I ended up going abroad for 2 years. And then when I came back, all I wanted to do was to have like my entire family. It was to be with my mom and my sister. And again, it was sort of decided that it was probably best if we all stayed where we were. If my sister stayed down south and my mom and I were up in Jersey. And I mean, it was heartbreaking because I wanted so badly for us to be together, and it just didn't work out that way. And I remember being at church with sort of a younger, like a teenage friend, and because I was working with the youth group, and I was just kind of like having fun with them. And there was one girl, and she was like, well, we were talking about things we wanted for Christmas, and I was like, all I wanted is to be together with my sister. And she's like, well, pray for that. And I was like, okay, kid, like let's give it a try. So we prayed, and then sort of it ended up being like a down to the wire decision, and collectively everyone decided that it was just best if, again, she stay down there and we stay up here that year. So we didn't end up being together that year. And I remember my friend, her name's Marta. She's just lovely. She asked, she was like, well, did you get your prayer request? Did that come true? And I'm like, no, she's still down there. She's like, it's okay. We'll keep praying. And I was like, okay, that's a good idea. So we kept praying, and it goes every year. It was the same thing, and something would happen, like either finances wouldn't line up or something, because the next year or like life situations would just end up not being ideal to go down. So the next year wasn't the best either. So we spent Christmas separately that year. And Marta came up to me at the same time. She's like, did you get to see your sister for Christmas? And I was like, we didn't, not this year. She's like, it's okay. We'll keep praying. And then finally the third year, it was 2012, and we've been praying since 2010. 2012 was the year that it worked out that we would go down. My mom and I would drive down to visit her. And it did work out, but it was the first time we'd seen her in 3 years. So it was a little bit rocky and a little bit bumpy, and some people, like we just tried to make things work, and it was a little bit rough, but I got to see her. And the Sunday after Christmas, when I went to church and I saw Marta, and she's like, did it happen? Did you see your sister for Christmas? And I was like, yeah, it happened. 3 years later, she's like, see, that's the power of prayer. And I was like, it really is. Because even though it might take longer than you'd like, sometimes that's exactly as long as it takes for something to happen. So that's pretty much the theme that I've learned in terms of Christmas and Christmas stories and Christmas dreams coming true, that it takes as long as it takes, and that's what it takes. And then when it happens, you can't imagine it being any other way. And now my sister's doing great, and she's living an amazing life, and my mom's doing really well, living her life abroad, and then I'm here holding down the fort and loving my life as well. So again, I'm going to leave you with the idea that what you appreciate. So appreciate your life. appreciate the things that are close to you, and love and accept the parts that aren't exactly as you would like them to be, because you never know what would happen. Things take as long as they take, and then they Christmas miracles exist. So that's where I'm going to leave you for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you'll keep watching. Bye.